everybody, Terrence Popp from the Lair. And apparently you guys like my stories. I'm a good storyteller. I've seen a lot of shit. I've been on the ground for a lot of crazy stuff. But today, I'm going to talk to you about some satisfying moments. You know, I did a video called Fantastic Moments, which is basically the same thing. But I have two stories here that I think you're absolutely going to love. Hang on a minute. The first one started when I was in high school. I was in the 11th grade. I had already taken the ASVAB, which is the Army Entrance Exam, in 10th grade, and I crushed it. But I didn't do well in school. I had dyslexia, and it really went undetected, which caused a lot of frustration. And I was very, small. I was like the smallest guy in my grade. I was outweighed by 30 to 50 pounds in the football field. It fucking just sucked. So one day, this captain, Army captain, shows up in greens, which is a big deal in high school. I was like, ooh. And he was interviewing 3 people for West Point. I don't know who they were, but I approached the guy about 11:30-ish on our way to lunch, and I said, hey, I'm interested in the Army thing. Could you check out my file, He said, yeah, sure. And, he didn't get back to me. I was leaving school at the end of the day, and he was waiting out in front of the school smoking. And I asked him if he looked at my file, and he said yes. And the words he said after this were pretty upsetting. He basically said, you're not West Point material, and in fact, I doubt you're military material. Which, was a big blow to my ego. And I was upset about it for maybe about 15 minutes. I really wasn't thinking of going in the Army anyway. I just wanted to, throw my hat in the ring, which obviously wasn't good enough. So we fast forward this whole thing. I go in the Army. I went through 9th Infantry Division, got a letter of acceptance from the Sergeant Major from the 2nd Ranger Battalion, got an airborne school slot from the 9th ID, which was the first time they had given any enlisted people an airborne slot in a leg division since cease of hostilities in Vietnam. And I went through that whole thing. I did the Panama with the Rangers. I did a couple other deployments with the Ranger Battalion. And then I went to SF selection in 91. So this is about 6, almost 7 years later, and I totally forgot this guy. But I show up to selection, and I think it was like 530 people showed up to do SF selection. And this is basically the second or third time they had run the new standards, which are based off of the British SAS standards, where you have the first week is all individual stuff, and the second week, I think that's you do the obstacle course, then you have to do the team events, which is 2 a day. The whole thing lasted about 24 days. And it was just a fucking meat grinder. I mean, it's just horrible. We did it in July of 91. I think they had 6 people die. There were so many heat casualties. I mean, birds couldn't land fast enough to take people to the hospital that were stroking out. It was fucking hard. But lo and behold, who was in my selection class? Joe Blow captain, except now he's a major. So he probably was a new captain when I saw him in high school, and he got passed over once for major and made it on his second look. Which doesn't really bode well for his professionalism or his ability to be a good officer. So I don't say anything to him. He doesn't remember me. I look completely different. I'm like 178 pounds. I wasn't the 121 pound dude that he talked to 6 years before. So I go through the whole fucking thing. Selection was just fucking a meat grinder. Every morning when I reported to my team for the first week, I was losing, I went to like 3 different teams. People were quitting at night. It was just a meat grinder. And towards the end of team week, I was carrying the dead body, which is basically a duffel bag full of fucking packed wet sand. It weighs like 300 fucking pounds. And we build our little lattice, and then we have it hanging on our rucksacks, and 4 guys have to move the thing along. And the guy to my right, this fucking Mexican bastard, instead of saying, I can't, hey, I need to stop and then just fucking terminate. He fucking just says, fuck it, pulls the thing off his rucksack and just says, fuck it, I quit. He didn't warn me, so I had to fucking onto my, back of my rucksack. All of a sudden, he drops his weight. I fucking catch myself. The pole that had all the weight slipped off my neck, fucked up, scratched me pretty bad. Went down and broke a toe and ripped a toenail off of one of my fucking feet. So we had 3 days left to go. And up until this point, I had no blisters. This was nothing. I showed up in Ranger Battalion shape. It was a piece of fucking cake. But that changed my fucking walking style. And I started developing these huge blood blisters on my feet. It was just fucking horrible. And the only way you could get by is you'd have to drain them at night and then sneak that tincture benzene in there. It's made from pine tar. Inject it, into the blister where it was, and then make the skin stick back to the meat. And I'm going to tell you that. This fucking hurt like shit. So we get to the last event, and it's a road march. They don't tell us how long it is. But in my mind, I know it's more than 25. And anybody with a half a brain could say, hey, I bet you 10 to 1 the cutoff is 8 hours. Before my foot got hurt, I could knock out, a 25, 28 mile road march in probably 6 hours, 37, 7 hours tops. But, my foot was fucked up. And I knew I could make it if I didn't fucking stop. I just had to fucking keep going. There's no water breaks. I did carry all my water with me. I couldn't fucking stop. So, I do it's individual. I do the fucking road march thing. I cheated a little bit in the beginning because we had to cross this water obstacle, which was a stream. And everybody went across, they would stop and change their socks and shit. And not me. I could not afford the time. So I basically took 2, plastic bags from the cleaning closet, had them in my pocket. And when we got to the water obstacle, I just put one on each leg and I quickly ran across. And then let go of the fucking plastic bags, and then I just kept going. I didn't have to change my socks or nothing. A couple of the cadre were yelling, hey, motherfucker, and they lost me in the dark, because, it is what it is. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying to get caught, you're not trying hard enough. So I'm making time. I know I'm doing good. And I know I've covered, I've done all my pace counts. I know I've gone 24 on the 25th mile. And I know the end is somewhere, after 25 miles. And you really don't know how far it is. But it's a huge mind fuck. Because you get to the point of 25, you're like, hey, I've done 25 miles. What the fuck? So I go, I'm at 26 mile, and lo and behold, who was fucking on the side of the road all fucked up? Mr. Joe Blow fucking, you're not good enough to be the military guy, and you had 2 lieutenants with him. And the only time I stopped on this road march, I stop, I do a right face, and I look at him, he's looking at me, and I go, sir, do you remember me? And he said, no, have we met? I go, remember that little kid out in Berkeley High School you talked to, and you said he wasn't West Point material, or wasn't military material? Well, I'll tell you what, you motherfucker, I'm going to walk up this goddamn road and earn a chance to get my Green Beret, and you're fucking here quitting, you bitch. And I kicked this whole fucking clod of dirt in his face, like mud. And these 2 lieutenants were they get all fucking pissed off, and I fucking had my rubber ducky, which is supposed to be an M16, but it's just a solid piece of rubber. I hold it like a club, and I like, come on, I will fucking kill you both. Well, they didn't want none of that, because I wasn't fucking kidding. I did a left face. I finished that road march in 7 hours and 37 minutes. And out of the 540 guys who showed up for selection, they selected 36, and I was one of them. And that was one of the most satisfying things I'd ever done in my life. And I remember, they tell you to throw your weapon down, because once you come across the finish line, selection is over. Okay, I threw my shit in a fucking pile, and I'm walking out, and these 2 lieutenants are dragging this fucking captain, and they're bitching out how I fucking threatened them, and I was disrespectful. And I remember the cadre just going, hey, fuck you. You're in selection, there's no fucking rank. Kiss my ass. And I got a fucking pass on that one. I never saw that guy again, and I hope I never do, because he's got an ass whipping coming. The second one starts off when I was like in kindergarten. There was a guy named Trowski. It's a longer name, but I'm not gonna use his name. And his father used to run this fucking karate dojo, Shota concept and other, and he taught his kid how to fight. He could fight really well. And this dude was a fucking raging asshole when I was in that particular school district. I fought him a bunch of times, never won, took a huge fucking beating. You know, so I moved out of that neighborhood. That was Oak Park, which is like between 8 and 9 mile, you know, near Detroit. I moved like 2.5 miles north. To 11 in Coolidge, which Berkeley was city of Berkeley High School, and it was like being in the fucking gang to fucking leave it to Beaverland, and it was only 2.5 miles back in the early 80s. And I never saw that guy again. You know, I never fucking had to deal with him until, you know, I got off active duty and I went into Special Forces Reserve, and I was going to college, and I started, you know, competing as a professional kickboxer. You know, and I went to this one, you know, it was a card down in, was it Minnesota? And lo and behold, there's the Trowski, you know, and he's my opponent. And he's like all cocky and being a fucking asshole. And whatever, you know, most of the time when you do weigh-ins as a kickboxer, everyone has a dojo. They're all black belts. Everyone's professional. There's really no shit talking. You shake hands, you weigh in, and you leave. This guy was a fucking dick. Just a fucking asshole. And I just wanted to kill this guy. You know, it was a 5-round fight. It wasn't for any belts or anything like that. You know, in the first round, you know, whenever you go into a fight like that, you got to realize you're in a ring, and in there, almost all of the rules of civilization go away. And that particular day, you know, using, you know, full contact karate, you can kick anywhere in the body except the groin and the spine. That's it. You know, leg kicks were fucking authorized, and so were elbows. So it was a fucking everything go fight. We had 8-ounce gloves, which is next to nothing. And he was great. I mean, his style, his technique was flawless. It was embarrassing to even be in the same room and watching this guy warm up. He was just so fucking good. Which is, you know, psychologically kind of damaging. But I had one trick up my sleeve that I know he doesn't have. See, I watched his fight tapes. And, he could hit really hard, and he was really fucking fast, but his power came on the snap. He needed to snap those punches at the end of the fucking of the end of their course to get the maximum power. Okay, that's a very deadly thing, but I had been schooled in boxing. So the first round comes out, tears me up pretty good, you know. Second round comes out, tears me up, and I'm doing okay. But the thing with him is I'm pawing his punches. I'm taking away that last 2 and 3 fucking inches where he's able to get maximum power on me. And he's fucking getting frustrated. I could do the same thing he could do, which is punch with a snap at the end. But sometimes that's not going to work. You have to use a different technique. So I would punch. Instead of snapping at the end, I would just drive it right through his fucking body and his skull. He'd have his hands up, and I would fucking boom and stun him through his own fucking gloves. At the end of the third round, he caught me. It was really good. He did a fake. I fell for it. I caught a jab. His right hand, hard as he could, right on my jaw, and right behind that, he brought a roundhouse kick. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, it was it. You know, I fucking was stunned. I went back like this. And the key is, don't ever give away when you're hurt. Okay? Yeah, I fucking went back. Boom. I was fucking dizzy. My ears were ringing. And I remember I just put my gloves up. And then the look in his face, he knew he had hit me with his best combination, his hardest punches, followed by a kick, and I was still on my feet. He came out in the 4th round. I was no longer afraid of him. He had nothing that could stop me. And I savagely beat his ass. Beat his ass. He barely made it out of the 4th round. He comes up for the 5th round. It's more of the same. More of the same. I fucking don't even acknowledge his punches. Fuck his kicks. I just walk in and I'm going for it. Boom, boom, boom. And I remember I hit him and I twisted it. That's one of those boxing fucking tricks. Boom, right over the eye. And I just saw this big fucking C whipping his skull and fucking blood's coming out. Boom, and I'm just hitting him. Boom, boom. I mean, this is a savage beating. This is a beating that he deserved from high school to that fucking day. I was not going down. Fuck that guy. All right. And I remember he went back up and I caught him with his fucking left hook and the sweat fucking came off in a halo. He staggered back. And in my mind, I'm like, you are gonna fucking die. And his father worked in his corner, threw the towel in. He never fought again. Never. He was done. I retired him. I retired a lot of kickboxers that way. Because at the end of the day, I was tougher than they were good. Technique's great. You know, it looks impressive. But if you fucking go against the wrong guy who can take your shit, you're fucked. And those are my 2 satisfying moments. I have more. Hopefully you like these stories, but you guys take it easy.